Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. It's been a couple of months. Apologies. Maybe not apologies actually. I've had a good time travelling a bit of the world with the other half. Obviously those that know, a bit of a tricky last year and a half with health situations, so we gave ourselves some time. It was nice to get away. I tried my best to keep away from the crypto news and information the last few months. So apologies for that, but yeah, highly recommend taking time out every now and then. It's always good to do. Recently just came back from Albania. Fantastic country. Incredible, actually. Scenery, places, people, food, excellent. Go check it out if you get some time to go and visit. Guys, yeah, it's been a couple of months since the last video. Of course, my usual introduction is to say go check out the other videos on the channel. Obviously, some of the recent ones were a few months old now, so maybe just wait for these newer ones to come out, but certainly have a look at some of the older big topic project videos. They're always good to see. It's great to be back. Today's video is going to be around Cardano, because the last sort of 24 hours or so, which kind of prompted me to jump in earlier than I wanted to with starting the videos up again. Just purely because, as many know, I'm a holder of Cardano in my portfolio. I've been holding that, I think, around 2019, 2020. Obviously, the price has risen quite a bit since then. We'll go into the chart details later on in this video. But the interesting thing that has occurred news-wise regarding Cardano is the founder, or one of the founders, Charles Hoskinson, has basically opened up to the fact that they're going to take a fair amount of the Treasury, actually. I think it's around 10%, around that mark. It equates to around about $100 million worth of ADA, and they're essentially going to convert it, or in other words, sell it into Bitcoin and stable assets or stable coins. The strategy, which is kind of listed here on Coin Central, is defending the plan as a yield strategy. So 5 to 10 years potentially, trying to basically almost leverage the 100 million into Bitcoin, seeing the value rise. So we'll go on to the pros and cons of all this and my thoughts in general of this situation anyway, shortly. But essentially to try and yield over 5-10 years and then put it back into Cardano. It's a bit of a strange one, really, because he's been such a giant advocate in the crypto space and obviously still is. But a massive advocate, of course, of his own company, or founding company, Cardano, for many, many years. So it's about it's trying to balance my mind with this, really, because there's two elements, two kind of sides to this, really. I totally get what he's trying to do, but equally, when you're an investor, or particularly in the crypto space, right, I think it's quite different to the stock markets in the sense that I always said this, there's always like a weird tribal thing in crypto. Like there's always arguments about what coins to hold and not hold, and if you haven't got one, what are you doing? It's a bizarre world. However, there were always projects in my mind from the very beginning, really, that kind of stood out to suggest that these would be, innovators, and Cardano is definitely an innovator back then. Today, of course, it is probably inspiration to so many crypto assets, or even individuals out there creating their own companies or tokens from the principles of what Cardano was all about and that progression in the crypto space. But equally, on the other side of that, so many assets, and it's particularly blockchains. Let's talk about blockchains in general, essentially what Cardano is. So many blockchains have come out since that are way more advanced, way speedier, more transactions per second. Okay, they may not have a lot of the capacity work that's going on within the blockchains, but there are a lot of projects working on or built on Cardano, but not as many as the ones that accelerated over the last couple of years. Say Solana, for example, Polygon, obviously a few years ago, not so much recently. So it's kind of like maybe fallen back. The intricate detail about Cardano, the technical ability is still there for sure, but it needs more and more progression. And I guess we'll talk about these kind of like pros and cons aspect of this initiative is the only word I can really call it at the moment. There's so much commentary about this, by the way, and again, the tribal thing. A lot of people throwing their 2 cents in. We're going to do that now here on this channel as well. But it's almost like trying to rock the boat. Is it trying to generate some kind of market? I'm not going to say manipulation, but is it trying to trigger some market integration here, or people getting excited one way or another? Will that be to sell Cardano because they think it's a waste of time now, or not agreeing with this process or this philosophy? Is it going to be because Charles is very bullish now on Bitcoin, he must think that Bitcoin is going to be going up in the next few months, or certainly over the next 5-10 years, which of course it will. So me being a Libra, I'm very balanced about this scenario, but I'm very interested to know what you think about this, if you're a Cardano holder, or just your general thoughts about this in terms of the market and what Cardano has been standing for, what it does stand for today. Let us know in the comments below. But supporters of this are arguably sitting there going, well, actually, we want to see DeFi and stablecoin issuance keep rising. We think Cardano is a big player in this. It can contribute to that bigger push. The yield generation, if they do decide to eventually pull that back into ADA, that $100 million, what would that actual value be in 5 to 10 years? In terms of Bitcoin going back into Cardano, that could in itself in 5-10 years time boost the Cardano price point when it puts it back into or starts buying the ADA, right? Will it do it all in one go? Will it do it over batches? Is it even allowed to be able to do that? I don't know. The regulations are always still relatively unclear when it comes to crypto still in most countries worldwide. But it's not just Cardano, of course. There's a lot of other projects, a lot of legacy products, I like to call them projects. Polkadot here are looking to try and do this as well. What is actually really going on here? It's bizarre. My critical side is, are they giving up? Are they suggesting that actually we're not strong enough as we used to be? So to protect ourselves or our company, we're going to basically leverage elements of our treasury or our holding, or in terms of a stock holding, stock world, our shares, are we going to float them somewhere else? It's very risky for sure, because as risky as it is, you and I saying, oh, we're bored of this token now, or oh, actually I'm going to chase this one now because I think that's going up, but you might completely obliterate it. Of course, the markets fluctuate with Bitcoin as they do with every single other blockchain and crypto asset. So, it's a bit audacious, really, to mess around with $100 million. Okay, it's still a relatively it's a relatively small percentage considering the amount that they have of ADA within the wallets of Cardano. But it is very interesting to see this. The T-bills aspect of it will be quite interesting. But all I would say here is, yes, I can see what they're trying to do or what they think they could achieve with this, but I can also see why people are getting pretty annoyed with this already. There's definitely an execution risk here for sure. From a sentimental perspective, it's feeling to me like I'm still going to hold them to an extent. I probably might sell some off just to get back into the stable coins or move that in across somewhere else before I believe the market uptrend in the next few months will occur. But it's almost like I feel like have they got a lack of confidence within themselves, therefore passing that lack of confidence to me, and that's where it comes back to that interesting initiative of not the word manipulation. You know what I'm trying to say, really, or hopefully trying to say, is it trying to encourage some form of movement in prices, whether it be ADA or Bitcoin, in either of those aspects? A lot of people that have respect for Cardano or understand what it is might go, okay, if they're doing this with BTC and I'm not really massively involved in Bitcoin, I personally have no Bitcoin whatsoever. I had it a very long time ago, but I didn't really get involved with it because I didn't really see the return pattern. I see it as a great hold of value. And yes, of course, it will double in price over the next 5-10 years, maybe triple, quadruple, who knows. But I'd have to put a lot of money into it now to get that reward. It doesn't really make much sense to me, other than a relatively sort of safe haven to hold money. But it's very interesting. It's very bold. It's very risky, of course. But I'm interested to see the ADI price movements, and I think on that point, let's switch over to the chart of ADA, because yes, there was a slight drop after this news, but nothing detrimental to the overall price points of Cardano over a long period of time. In the last charts that we did, I think we're actually towards the back end of last year with some interesting sort of narrative around where we think it would be coming down to. And you can see actually, before we talk about the more recent points after this news has come out, we touched on these sort of macro level fib levels of Cardano, which we last saw back in March 2024. We've now been seeing that more recently in March this year, and of course May more recently than that. And now we're floating back down to this area. So this move, I would assume, maybe not fully accurately, but I would assume that since around the 11th or 12th of June, when this news was being rumoured or coming out into fruition, and then obviously the videos or the interview videos of Charles coming out came through, this has started to pile down even further and a lot quicker in a shorter space of time. So we're already immediately retesting this other macro level around this point here, which again, the price points that we saw back in November last year, we saw a couple of touch points where we had a reduction of 6th of February, March, and more recently April. Now it's being tested again. Now, with this kind of news and people's sort of flippant mentality, or like maybe the lack of confidence Cardano, it could easily stretch back down. I'm not saying that it wouldn't come back up again after bouncing off here again, but this could be some rejection points. So I'm really keeping an eye on it. I'm not going to make any movements right now because I think we're in that emotional stage where we don't know the actual implications of this. We've seen the thought process, the concept of it, but I'm not in an ideal mentality situation right now to take movements in this, i.e. selling right now or buying some, because actually I think this might be positive for the future. And I think this comes back to the point of, if you're a short-term trader, obviously you'll be making your moves. I'm a long-term holder of a lot of these kind of legacy projects. I believe in the future of them, but these kind of things that happen, these narratives do start swinging and playing with your mind a bit, and does lead to the temptation, which is why I'm trying to not be emotive right now, and we'll just wait a few days, see what happens with the chart movements, make a decision upon that to go, am I still a long-term holder of this? Do I need to sell some off just to remove some of that risk and see what happens with the remaining amount? Because at the end of the day, I took out my initial investments years ago, so this is all profit anyway, but I should be taking those profits as and when, even when we had this bolster up with ADA back in November, I took advantage of that, of course, because it was from a phenomenal rise from that 34 cents up to $1.30. Is this a notion from Charles to try and get that price point potentially even lower, to get it back to these lower levels? So there's opportunities more for buying opportunities for when that swings around, or for other users to come in to build that wallet portfolio of users or wallet holders. So there's lots of things to think about here. If we look at the long-term aspect, forget this most recent fib level, you can see all these micro levels here. I think we're a bit far off here still. Maybe if it's continuing a downward trend, we might see this in like a month or two. But I do anticipate with the the RTGS system going live in November, legacy projects I think will have a good run. So I'm not anticipating this to be dropping down really any further than that 50 cent mark, but we'll have to see how this transpires over the next couple of weeks. But I do anticipate in the long term Cardano's continuing to make its rise and be a prominent figure in the crypto space for many years to come. So we've just got to keep an eye on this, guys. But as I said, let me know what you think in the comments below about all this for sure. Just a really quick point here as well on the buying perspective. The short-term trader is probably going to keep an eye on this. The RSI on the 14 and 28 day at the bottom left here are really low. These are usual bite points for me personally to be buying more Cardano. So I will think about this over the next 24-48 hours. But I'm also looking at the long-term indicators on the right-hand side here. Suggest that, of course, in a longer period of time, we are on a downward trend. As we are still up on the year, that is diminishing. So I'm more interested in looking at this sort of 6-month, 3-month move. So it's indicating to me we're in this kind of like halfway limbo stage. We need to assess what's going to happen in these coming days and weeks for me to make a decision on what I do with my portfolio holding of Cardano. So let us know what you think about all this. Let us know what you're doing with your Cardano portfolio, or even if you don't hold Cardano, I'm really interested to know your thoughts on this whole entire topic that we've been discussing on the channel today. Other than that, guys, I'm going to leave that there. It's a really interesting situation that's going on here with Cardano. I will be racking up the videos hopefully on a daily basis from now on. I'm back in the groove with this. I'm excited for the next few months. I do generally think leading up to this November moment, we're going to see some interesting moves, and hopefully even into 2026. Who knows, we might see the next bull run occurring in these next 6 months or so. Let's keep an eye on it. I'm excited either way. Thanks for watching, guys, as always. It's great to be back. And thanks, guys, for checking in. I've seen some of the comments on some of the videos asking where I am, so I really appreciate that you guys are looking out for myself and the channel. And we'll reward that, I'm sure, with many more videos to come in these coming days. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.